Right now is the best time in the history of the world for anyone that's passionate about music, that wants to create music, that wants to pursue that passion as a full-time music career, especially for recording artists. There's more opportunity than ever for recording artists to break out, have their music heard, and grow a massive following. But with that opportunity, there also comes new challenges. So in this video, I'm gonna explain why there's now more opportunity than ever before for anyone to have a successful music career as a recording artist. And I'll also explain the challenges that come along with it and how you can overcome those challenges and capitalize on this new opportunity. What's up guys, Justin here, and today in this video I'm going to explain why there's more opportunity now than ever before for recording artists. I'll address the new challenges that go hand in hand with that opportunity and what you can do about it to get more exposure for your music, grow a massive following, and have a long and successful music career. So if you find the stuff that I explained here in this video helpful, there's a lot more coming your way here on the channel, so be sure that you hit that subscribe button and tick the little bell icon to be notified as soon as those videos are live here on the channel. So why is now the best time to start or to continue to pursue your music career? Well, technology has been evolving rapidly over the last few decades, and with that evolution comes, of course, a lot of changes. And the changes that have happened over the last several years in the music industry have completely removed all barriers to entry. So what do I mean by barriers to entry? Well, a barrier to entry is a term used in business to describe anything that prevents new competition from entering an industry or business sector. For example, let's say you want to start a car company. Well, that's not something that just anyone can do. You're going to need manufacturing plants, workers, engineers, raw materials. That's a very expensive undertaking. And then you have to compete with these massive corporations like Toyota, Ford, Volkswagen, all these companies that are already dominating the marketplace. So there's a very high barrier to entry in the automotive industry. Just 20 years ago, the music industry was very similar in the sense that there was a very high barrier to entry for recording artists. So let's talk about that for a second. Not that long ago, it was very, very difficult for most artists to even create a record in the first place, much less actually get anyone to buy it. First, there was the cost of just recording an album. Nowadays, you probably have some kind of recording software on the device that you're watching this video on right now. But that's not something that was always available to most people until just very recently. The necessary equipment that was required to produce a professional sounding recording was very, very expensive. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it was bulky. It took up a lot of space. For those reasons, most people didn't have access to professional recording equipment. Home studios were very rare. Even if you had the space for a home studio, the equipment was still very cost prohibitive for most people. In other words, most people couldn't afford it. Typically, the only people that ever had access to professional studio equipment were the engineers and producers that worked in professional recording studios. Nowadays, many new computers come with recording software pre-installed that does the job of recording equipment that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars a couple decades ago. And then you can go on YouTube and watch videos that will teach you how to use the software without the need to hire a producer or engineer. That wasn't always the case. Before DAWs, digital audio workstations, aka home recording software, before that was available to install on your laptop or home computer, recording an album could get very, very expensive. Because first you had to rent the time in the studio, and then you had to pay a producer and engineers to record you, work all the equipment, set up mics properly. You might even pay a separate person to master the recording, and all that stuff could really add up, and it could end up costing easily thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars by the time you finally had a finished master recording. But that's only the first challenge, because before you had iTunes and the streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music that have come along since, the only way people could listen to your music, and buy your music, was through physical media, CDs, cassettes, vinyl. And it wasn't cheap to press that media. And it certainly wasn't very cost effective unless you bought it in bulk. So you would have to buy thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of units. So after all the costs of creating your master and then pressing all the physical copies of your album onto CDs and cassettes, you still had to get it into stores. It's no good just sitting in boxes in your attic and there wasn't an internet to sell your music on, so you had to be able to get it into retail brick and mortar stores like Walmart, Sam Goody, FYE. But it's not like you would just walk into a Walmart and talk to the manager and say, hey, will you sell my album? You wouldn't sell directly to Walmart. The only way you could get your music into Walmart and other physical retailers was through a distributor. Similar to the way that nowadays you can use a digital distributor like DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore to get all your music onto major streaming platforms. Before streaming, you would use a physical distributor that would get you shelf space in retail stores. But unlike the internet, which has essentially infinite space, there's very limited shelf space in physical brick and mortar stores. These days, anyone can upload their music to a distributor and get it on Spotify. That wasn't the case when everyone was fighting over a limited amount of shelf space. Labels would have to negotiate with distributors to get their artists' music into stores, and not everyone would make it onto the shelf. So even after all the costs of creating a record and printing a bunch of CDs, there still wasn't any guarantee that your music would ever make it to the shelf where someone could buy it. And even if it did, no one would know to buy it if they hadn't heard your music before. And guess what? There's only so many songs that get played on the radio, only so many videos on MTV, and it was the labels that ultimately decided what music made it to the airwaves. So staying independent was never an option. You needed to get on a label. And 99% of artists that did get signed never went anywhere, because major labels sign lots of artists, but they only put money behind the big winners, the ones that are going to make the most money. That's how it used to be. Only a very small percentage of artists were ever even lucky enough to get noticed and signed by a label in the first place, and then only a small percentage of those artists did well enough to get the full backing of their label and go on to have a successful music career. And that's what I'm talking about when I say that the music industry used to have a very high barrier to entry, but now there's no barrier to entry. If you have a laptop and the internet, you could literally lock yourself in a room, download some recording software, learn how to use it by watching tutorials on YouTube, and then distribute your music to all major streaming platforms, promote it, and have a #1 hit, all without ever leaving that room, which is crazy to think about, but that's the reality now. Sure, labels can offer a tremendous amount of value, but they're no longer a necessity like they once were. Literally anybody can become a recording artist. And if you have the talent, you could be successful at it. And that's why there's more opportunity for recording artists than ever before, because the limitations that used to exist, that used to prevent some very talented people from making it, no longer exist. Those barriers aren't there. But that creates a new challenge. Remember, barriers to entry keep out competition. Now that there are more artists putting their music out into the world than ever before, there's more competition than ever before. But that doesn't mean that you need to be better or more talented than anyone else necessarily. Sure, it helps, but your listeners can be fans of multiple artists. The thing that you're really competing over with other artists is simply getting attention, getting noticed, and getting those listeners to come back and listen again and become fans. And the #1 thing that's going to set you apart from everyone else and allow you to break through and get noticed and get more attention for your music than the next guy is simply knowledge. Knowledge about how the music industry works, knowledge about promoting your music, building a fan base, and monetizing your fan base so you can earn money and have a successful music career. And there's tons of information and resources out there, but the problem is that we don't know what we don't know. What I mean by that is, it doesn't matter how much information is out there if you don't know where to look, or more importantly, what to look for in the first place. So for example, if you want to learn how to use GarageBand, that's actually pretty simple and straightforward. You already know what information to look for. You want to learn how to use GarageBand, so you just go over to YouTube and type in how to use GarageBand, and then a ton of videos show up. But when it comes to your music career, it's not always as straightforward. Sometimes you don't know what to look for. For example, many artists don't realize that they're missing out on money that they're already owed. When you upload your music through a distributor to iTunes and streaming platforms, that distributor will keep track of royalties that you're owed as the owner of the recording for streams and downloads, and they'll send you a check. But if you wrote the song, which is often the case, you very well may be owed additional songwriting royalties that your distributor isn't keeping track of. You should probably be registered with a publishing administrator like Songtrust and a performance rights organization like BMI or ASCAP. But the problem is that many independent artists don't even know that a performance rights organization is even a thing, much less that they need to register with one to make sure that they get all the royalties that they might be owed. So that's where JamMob comes in. We help bridge that gap between what you don't know and what you need to know in order to stand out from all those other artists that are competing for listeners, so that you can get your music heard, so that you can build a following. And the good news is, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the channel and tick the notification bell so you can be notified whenever videos like this one are uploaded to the channel, so you can set yourself apart from other artists and get your music heard. I'll also go ahead and link to some other videos down in the video description that I think will be particularly helpful for most of you guys if you're new here. And I'll also link to a free guide, 61 ways to promote your music. When you download that free guide, you'll be automatically added to my email list, so you'll receive email updates with additional tips, tactics, and strategies to promote your music. And don't worry, that's all you're gonna get. I'm not gonna share your information or spam you. And for those of you that have music that you're ready to promote, I'd like to invite you to join my private community called Music Promotion Insiders. Just click the little icon in the upper right corner to join now. And when you join, you'll get instant access to a treasure trove of tactics and strategies to help you promote your music. There's hours and hours of video training and resources already available, and we're adding new stuff all the time. Plus, you also get access to our private Music Promotion Insider community on Facebook, where you can go to interact with other independent artists and producers that are doing the same thing that you're doing. It's a great place to get your questions answered about promoting your music, and it's the best way to get in touch with me. I'm in there all the time answering questions. So again, click the little info icon in the upper right corner of the screen to join the Music Promotion Insider community. I'll also put a link down in the video description as well. But that's pretty much going to wrap things up for this video. I know that when you're just getting started with your music career, it can seem overwhelming and frustrating at times, and it's easy to take for granted the opportunities that are available now that would have been unheard of 20 years ago. And especially for some of you younger guys and gals that may not even remember what it was like to listen to a physical CD, I thought it would be worth putting together this video to shed a little light on just what an incredible opportunity there really is now for anyone to become a recording artist and to pursue a music career when you think about just how difficult it would have been if you were trying to do this 20 years ago. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful or maybe motivating in some way. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comment section below. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now and click the little bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are released here on the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.